So, this one, so what's kind of nice, I highly recommend it if you ever have an opportunity to, is to actually go and learn how to use these, especially when you start getting into, if you're not already um, the trenches and, you don't already know how to use these pieces of equipment. I highly recommend going and asking people who use them regularly to show you how to use it, maybe even pick it up and do a sample if you can, because sometimes you it's harder. We can talk about it, we can show pictures, we can um, uh, we can talk about what bad things have happened. However, it's much different when you actually have it in your hand and feeling the weight of it and seeing how it moves and stuff like that. So I highly recommend that if you ever have a chance to get out there and um, go play. Okay. Now with hand and power tools, there's going to be lots of different hazards. um, you have, as you're using the tools, you're going to have objects that fly, fall, are abrasive, or splash. You may have harmful dust, fumes, mist, gases, and vapors that are generated. When it comes to power tools, you're looking at your electrical cords, any sort of um, improper connections or hazardous connections or improper grounding. What's nice is that a lot of people are going towards um, what is it? Without the cords, rechargeable tools,
Battery operated.
battery operated. Okay, yeah. So what's kind of nice about that is that you don't have to worry so much about the electrical hazards, just because now you're operating off of the battery instead of the actual current. So um, there are very basic tool safety rules. I mean, pretty much if everybody in the world could do this with their tools, we'd have much less injuries. Okay. And they're so basic. It's almost like you want to say, God, this is like common sense. Why don't people get that? However, common sense is usually not common unless you have the same training, experience, knowledge as the other person. That's when it becomes common. So, that's actually why we talk about basic safety rules. So, maintaining your equipment, using the right tool for the job. I think, I'm guilty of it as well. There are times that I may be using a screwdriver and I should be using a chisel, or I'm using, my favorite is when I use a knife to try and unscrew something because I can't find my flathead screwdriver. So, there are things like that that are just so basic. And, you know, I mean, it gets everybody at one point. Okay. You do want to make sure that you're inspecting before you use it, just to make sure that it is in good uh, it is in good condition, and you're identifying any problems. Always operate it according to the manufacturer's instructions. And again, it's very common to see tools being used outside of what they were meant to be used as. So those are definitely tricks, when you're doing your inspections, to be on the lookout for is, understand at least the basics for the power tools and hand tools that you have on your job site. Then that way you can kind of spot when people are not using it properly. Using the right PPE to go with that equipment, and then of course using the guards. Most equipment nowadays, they have guards installed, and then you have the human element that will uninstall them. So just keep that in mind, and that is a citation. That is some of your low-hanging fruit. Those are some of the first things that your regulatory agencies will be looking for is how are people using the guards, how are they maybe tweaking them so that they can quote unquote get better production without them. Okay, and that's usually my experience has been that, people will actually disable safety devices just because they think there's a perception that they can do their stuff faster. Okay, and yes, you might be able to do it faster, however, at what cost? Okay, and then how lucky really are you is what it comes down to. Okay, hand tool